My name is Dr. David Katz. I'm a retired family physician, and I've been on the board of the Interfaith Council of Greater Sacramento for 5 years now. And this is one of our projects to help our community share both faith traditions and our personal paths in seeking to understand our spiritual or divine selves. So I would like to offer an opening prayer, and then we'll introduce the panelists on our Exploring the Sacred panel, who will talk about the topic of meditation, what role it has in our life, what uses it has, what benefits it has in our personal experiences. In the name of God, who is compassion and is mercy, we ask tonight that we be given the grace to listen generously to each other, to hear without judging, to speak what is in our hearts, and to deepen each other's understanding of both our own faith tradition and that of others. Amen. So at this time, now I have to ask a question of Serene. Are you going to introduce the panelists, or would you like me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I would like to introduce the panelists in the order that they are going to speak. And I will have to put on my reading glasses to do that, so excuse me. Oh, here they are. Our first panelist is Peter Dannenfelser. He is 68 years old and married to Lori for 24 years. He's a brother and a grandfather, and he's an architect focused on commercial projects. He was born and raised in Sacramento, attended Cal Poly, and got a degree in agriculture, and also had a year at the University of Copenhagen. He lives in Sacramento and Land Park. He's traveled extensively, serves on the board of directors at Fairytale Town, and is a practitioner of Nichiren Buddhism for the past 4 decades. And our second panelist is Father Tom Bonacci. Tom is a Passionist priest who hails from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and has been ministering in California since 1990. He's a graduate of St. John's University in New York City and was ordained in 1972. He has been a religious supervisor and retreat director in Pennsylvania and New York, and a chaplain at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. And he established the Interfaith Center at Carlow University. Tom is the founder of the Interfaith Peace Project of Contra Costa County, a home-based educational outreach providing introductions to the religions of the world. He conducts interfaith seminars for the School of Applied Theology and the Interfaith Chaplaincy School of Berkeley, California. And he also ministers at the Christ the King Passionist Retreat Center. Let me try that again. He ministers at the Christ the King Passionist Retreat Center of Citrus Heights, California. He serves on the board of directors for the Religious and Ecumenical Commission of the Catholic Diocese of Sacramento and the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County. And our third panelist is Sister Martina, and she is a business owner and says that she converted to Islam, traveled to many places around the world with her family and for business. She converted after exploring different religions in search of God, Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and guided her to Islam, the religion of peace. Martina is a member of the Sisterhood of Salam Shalom and a board member of Salam, the Sacramento Area League of Associated Muslims. She also has joined us on the board of the Interfaith Council of Greater Sacramento. And finally, but certainly not least, Sister Hansa is our fourth panelist. She's a coordinator and Raja yoga meditation teacher in the Sacramento branch of the Brahma Kumaris Worldwide Organization. Sister Hansa has practiced meditation from a very young age. She graduated in commerce business management and then chose to fully dedicate her life to service and her community. Sister has traveled and taught in India, Asia, and the United Kingdom, and as well as for the past 2 decades in the United States, sharing ancient wisdom through simple stories and bringing benefit of awareness by blending Eastern and Western cultures. Sister Hansa is also a very active member of the board of the Interfaith Council of Sacramento, and she is this year's Power of One honoree. She authored 2 books, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Times and Small Stories, Big Blessings. So welcome to all of our panelists. I can tell from reading your bios that we have an illustrious panel and that we'll be learning a lot tonight from you. So I'd like to turn the microphone over to Peter. And after that, since we've already done the introductions, you can just go in order. I'll remind you of the order: Peter, Father Thomas, Sister Martina, and Sister Hansa.
Thank you, David. I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts and feelings and all the work that the Interfaith Council does. I would just correct David. I graduated from Cal Poly with a degree in architecture and not agriculture. I'm not smart about agricultural things. So, in preparing for this, I looked up the definition of meditation. And what I came up with is a technique to focus on one thing, like breath, right? Like observing our breath in and out with the goal of reducing stress, anxiety, depression, and pain, and the enhancement of peace, perception, our attitude, our reflection, and our well-being. So a person who sets aside time in their life to meditate has already told us that they are in search of something that's going to better them, right? Better prepare them for the future with a sense of calmness, being centered, right? The best prepared to handle the events that are going to show up in our future, right? So we're doing it to be better people, and from a place of strength, clarity, compassion, right? and love. Again, with the goal of serving humanity in a more powerful way. So in the world of Buddhism, and I have to say all of this is coming from 40 years of practicing and studying and having faith in Nichiren Buddhism. And Buddhism, I would tell you, is the study of cause and effect with respect for the dignity of human life. So a person who takes the time, sets aside time in their life to meditate, is already telling us that they want to make a cause to be better prepared for the future, to have a sense of who do I want to be today, and what action am I going to need to take to move me along that path. In the world of cause and effect, that is just a profoundly beautiful thing, right? That we recognize we don't know everything, and through the act of meditation, through quieting our mind and focusing on one thing, we can become more ourselves, centered and taking the right action moving forward in our lives. And that is just one of the most beautiful things, right? And there are other practices for meditation. So meditation from there's two schools of Buddhism, and one includes Zen, and Zen teaches that human suffering comes from desire and attachment. So, attachment to the desire, to the outcome of our desire, that selfishness. So if we can free our minds from desire, we can be free from suffering. And I can't argue with that, but it doesn't, freedom from suffering is not really flourishing. So then I think if we're going to spend the time to meditate in order to find our center, to be most ourselves, to take action in our future, is that the best use of our time? And at what point does our meditation become a prayer? So these are things, I'm throwing this out there for discussion, and I know I have 10 minutes and it's only been 4 minutes. But so I would also include in this, if I'm going to light candles and burn some incense and create a ceremony in my life, I'm going to want those moments to be used to their best potential. And in the world of cause and effect, which is to say we reap what we sow, right? Both Catholicism, Christianity, and Islam, the two biggest religions on the planet, both teach that what goes around comes around. So Buddhism is a school for studying that cause and effect relationship. And as humans, we are blessed with the ability, number one, to be breathing, to have life, right? So there's always room for appreciation for being alive today. And we all know that we won't be forever, right? Our time is limited. So if we're taking the time to create the cause to be more in our lives, we want, I think, that time to be most powerful. And in the world of cause and effect, we have our thoughts and our words, and of course, our actions. So our thoughts are the meditation, right? Focusing on one thing. But while we're doing that, we can be setting goals, making our determinations for how we want to be in the future. And what action am I going to have to take, right, to move me along that path so that I can be most effective in serving mankind. So for me, when I think about meditation, it's an inward, quiet journey where in Buddhism, there's this saying of our mind is like a drunken monkey. Okay, which is to say it's out of our control and moves from moment to moment. It's chaotic, scattered, and none of us wants that. So meditation is a practice to still our minds, focus on one thing with the intention of being centered, and our most powerful selves moving forward. And I got to tell you, that's a lot of religions include meditation in their practice, and Buddhism is really, we focus on our time spent is not praying to God or to Buddha or to Jesus or to a deity outside ourselves. It's to set our intention, right? Make goals. Who do I want to be today? And what action do I need to take? So I like to say that our prayers don't change things. They prepare us for the actions that we are going to take that changes things. And that is, in a nutshell, the practice of Buddhism, which, just ties so closely into meditation, making time and space in our days as a daily practice, right? Like yoga, to be better, to be all we can be. And I'm just so grateful to everyone on this call, and I look forward to our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's my blessing and privilege to be with you. I come from a monastic background, and in the monastery, we prayed 7 times a day, beginning at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the final prayer was at 2 o'clock in the morning. So you spent quite a bit of time rising and napping as you went through this pulse of the day. And the idea was that you would recognize that the day is sacred. And sometimes people are under the assumption that we might pray or meditate or contemplate in order to make the day holy, in order to make the day sacred. But in my experience, it was the other way around. It was to recognize the sacredness of the day. We don't make the day sacred. As a matter of fact, who isn't sacred? What isn't sacred? So prayer, meditation, contemplation, all move in the direction that you and I might have a perception of the beauty and the splendor that is around us, especially the magnificence of another person. In my experience with Zen Buddhism, for example, I once met a practicing monk who answered the question, why do we meditate? And he very lovingly and kindly said, I meditate in order that I might love. There is something deep within us that we might not know. As we contemplate and meditate on the world around us, we oftentimes discover the world within us. So I get confused sometimes as to whether or not I'm talking about prayer, meditation, contemplation, illumination, or oneness. And of course, on the blackboard, in the book, in the notebook, we can make very clear distinctions from one to the other. As a matter of fact, in the Latin language, which is often used by Catholic people, the terminology is very beautiful. It's oratio, meditatio, contemplatio, and illuminatio. What it is to say a prayer, to enunciate sacred words, what it is to pray out loud or in the quiet of oneself. Then there's meditation, what it is to be fixated on a particular verse, an image, or a object. And then there's contemplation, where I leave the sense world, so to speak, and I simply practice the art of being loved. And then there's illumination, that the one I pray to, the one I meditate about, the one I focus on is the one I am becoming. In the funeral liturgy of the church, of the Catholic Church, there's a very beautiful prayer that reads like this. When the body of our earthly dwelling lies in death, we gain an everlasting dwelling place with you, O God. And then the prayer says, we become like you. So I like to think that even in the humility of our prayer, that simple few words, our gracious one in heaven, or in the splendor of meditation, Let me focus on the beauty of the tree and enter into the sacredness of creation. Or in contemplation with the realization I am loved. That in these moments, what we long for in the fullness of time is what we taste in the moment of time, in the here and now of life. When I was a little boy in school, concerning oratio, oral prayer, what it is to say a prayer, the religious education teacher said, a very lovely woman, whenever you hear an emergency vehicle, like a fire truck or an ambulance, and the sound that they make, pause wherever you are in that moment and offer a prayer for the person in need or the person in trouble. Then the noise of the world becomes the song of God. The noise of the world becomes the rallying call. The very noise itself becomes the call to significant prayer for the other. But when it comes to meditation, contemplation, I have a story that I would like to share with you. For many years ago, it touched my mind, heart, and soul deeply. I love city life. I love walking up and down the streets. I love meeting people. I adore San Francisco. I love the people who are writing poems in the street, dancing on the street corners, bursting into song. One day I found myself in New York City in the Bronx Zoo. And there's a crowd of people going into the zoo. And then there's these magnificent creatures. There's the giraffe and the elephant. And there's the rhinoceros and the great apes. And the little boy was walking with his daddy. And the little boy turned around and said to his dad, I want to see a whole bunch of stuff. And he said it with such excitement that the multitude of people stopped to look at the little boy, who said to his dad with great exuberance, I want to see a whole bunch of stuff. And as I remember it, all the animals at that moment started looking at the little boy. And the father said to the little boy, well, if you open your eyes, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. And the boy giggled. And then, believe it or not, he opened his eyes as wide as he possibly could. And I sort of followed. And I don't think the little boy blinked for the next hour. He walked through that zoo, eyes wide open. And I'd like to think that's what meditation does. Meditation opens our eyes so that we can see a whole bunch of stuff. We might even be able to see deep into the heart of the cosmos, deep into the mind, heart, and soul of another person. Now, in terms of my own tradition, one of the things that Christian people in general and Catholic people in particular love to pray, meditate, and contemplate on are the Psalms. My soul magnifies the Lord. When I behold the heavens, the sun, the moon, the stars, which you put in place, who am I? Suddenly the greater world around me and the inner world within me comes to an essential oneness. It can even happen in the moment of agony. It can even happen in the moment of prayer. Once visiting a patient in the hospital, she said, I offer up my sufferings for the sake of other suffering people. that they might have relief. So whether I go to the zoo, to the cathedral, out into the forest, down by the river, everything I see invites me to have my heart wide open so that the love that is within me may flow forth. That's my prayer and my hope for all of you tonight. Be at peace.
Amen. Thank you, Father Thomas. You beat the buzzer.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Peace be upon you. My name is Matina. I'm very grateful to be here to talk with the panelists as well as all the audience. Really glad to be here. I'm going to just talk a little bit personally on what meditation and my faith, how they're intertwined. I want to start off with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious and the most merciful. Although meditation has no religious attachments, it's highly spiritual practice. So for me personally, Islam and meditation go hand in hand, specifically during my daily prayers. During our prayers, we always have an opportunity to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and spiritually connect to the universe. Part of that, it really keeps me grounded. So basically after each prayer, which we do 5 prayers a day, I just kind of reflect on where I am, what it is that, I may have a special prayer for someone, or I just want to connect with Allah. Doing those prayers, it really keeps me grounded. One of the practices that we do is called dhikr. Dhikr is just an Islamic spirituality and practice of remembrance and mindfulness of God. Some people use the practice as, and you probably all seen prayer beads, or you can use your hands, but basically you're reciting specific phrases or words or prayers as a means of drawing closer to God and seeking spiritual purification and enlightenment. Me personally, I take advantage of that time. It's just a quiet time where I can just reflect and just breathe, and then also recite. Some of the things that we recite are, and I'll just give you an example, are Subhanallah, Allah is flawless. These are reminders. Alhamdulillah, praise be to God. Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest. During these times, we take time to breathe, take deep breaths, pause, relax. I know that sometimes there's a lot of things going on all around us, outside, inside, bad news, a lot, especially during this time. And it's really important that we adopt the practice of, if not meditation, and some people meditate in different ways, but just adopt something to relax and just take a pause. So in my household, my husband and I, we like to meditate together, and that's a great practice. If you have a partner, to just sit in silence together and take that time. So in addition to my prayer, we practice our meditation. And this really gives us a level of, spirituality in our heart and our mind. And then it also manifests physically, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But just taking time to disconnect and then also to connect with your higher being is important. Providing grounding, to be awareness, really, really important. One thing that everyone should do is just think freely and have an open mind. As we're talking here today, there's many different faiths, I'm sure that's on the call. But one thing we will have in common is that meditation, and just being able to accept one another, and then connect with the universe is really something that is like a thread that we're all connected and we should all practice. One of the things I realize is, when you're having a bad day or you're going through some things, some of the benefits of meditation is also healing. There's a lot of health benefits to meditating as well. So it's really good to take advantage of that time. You can reduce some of the stress that you have in your life, anxiety, depression. It helps with sleep. It's important to just kind of calm your mind. And this is something that I learned from my husband. He does it all the time. And I'm getting better with it, but it really does help, the meditation, just the quiet time. If you're in pain, being to rise above that and just to, again, to meditate and use that in your pain management, it really helps. Lowering your blood pressure. And I know that some doctors now are even talking about meditation and how it can help, and not just taking pills and taking medicine, but just, go inside. Another part that I'd like to mention is something that I'm new at right now. I'm just studying something called Tao Te Ching. And I don't know if you've heard of that, but that is very interesting. And it's something that I'm really learning. Is humbling. It's actually making me realize that, basically I'm a part of the universe. I'm not to fight against things. It's just more peace, inner peace, and letting that manifest on the outside. So these are, that is something that is new to me, but I really enjoy. Although meditation is a practice that is well known, there's all kinds of ways that people meditate. I mentioned prayer, meditate. There's guided meditation, and then just quieting your mind. Also, one thing that really helps me, and I don't know, I've mastered this, but if I'm surrounded by a lot of noise, a lot of distraction, I can actually go inside, and that takes years of practice. And no matter what's going on, I actually can meditate right in the middle of chaos or noise or a meeting or anywhere. And it's really, really helpful. It's very satisfying, and I really enjoy that. So I just want to implore to everyone, please, try to practice meditation if you haven't already. It is a part of my all day, all night, whenever I'm up, is something that I use constantly, is being able to go inside of myself, think freely, and just have an open mind. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Wow, such a great, wonderful sharing by all the wonderful practitioner of meditation. Quite rich and enhancing. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, all of you. And one of the aspects of meditation in my personal life is to be thankful for everything. From morning till evening, if you can say one word, thank you for everything, to God, it's also one of the aspects of practicing meditation. There are so many ingredients of meditation, and particularly Raj Yoga meditation. But every little aspect, every little ingredient is very, very valuable, very helpful. Or if we can say that meditation is like a diamond, it has a variety of facets. So one thing is, I really like that in every culture, every country, every faith tradition, every religious aspect has a some or other way there is a meditation or a prayer. I always feel that ancient India has an ancient wisdom of meditation also that can help to whoever wants to practice that aspect. but I respect and honor all traditions, all faith, and all whatever way you can meditate. There's a one very beautiful story that one of the saints will always meditate to God, talk to God, is in a certain versions or a certain shlokas or a certain way of, certain specific words, and that way he will do. So one day he was passing by somewhere and he saw one little boy was talking to God in a very innocent way, like a God is his friend or God is his companion, or he was sharing everything. This happened to the school, this happened, I went for this event and things like that. The same thing, what are you doing? He said, I'm talking to God. But he said, you have to pray to God or you have to meditate in a certain way. The boy wasn't sure about it. And then according to the story, it says that there was a divine sound from the sky. And it says that let boy do whatever he's doing with his innocent heart. It is reaching to me. You don't need specific versions or a specific words to remember me. So another aspect we can see, meditation is connection. The another word, yoga. Yoga is connection. It's a Sanskrit word. And meditation comes from the Latin language, which is medere, which is like a healing process of the soul. So there are so many variety facets of this diamond named meditation. And each facet is valuable because it brings some sparkle in our life. It brings some light in our life. And that is what we need. Because present time, whatever we are going through in our life, like a stress or depression, frustration, anger, or a attachment or jealousy, because all the suffering, all the sorrow, all the pain, we say is the life is divided in 4 aspects: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So when we start our things with the physical aspect more, then things go in imbalance, or it doesn't allow us to feel grounded, or it creates the stress because it gives us total different dimension. But when we start things with our spiritual aspect, that is like awakening. And in my aspect, I would say reawakening my inner divine energy. So when I live my life with this reawakening, re-emerging with my divine self, my inner beautiful self, then it makes all the difference. All the difference. I like to share another short story about it, is that one day one person was trying to find something down below the street light. And he was been looking there, something like he's finding something for some time, like maybe 10, 15 minutes. So one neighbor in that nearby house was watching whatever curiosity that what this person is doing, maybe let me go and help. So he went down there and said, what are you doing, sir? He said, I'm finding my keys. Okay, all right. So he also started looking at it. He did for some time. Then afterwards he said, are you sure you have lost your keys here? That man said, no, sir, I didn't lose my key here. Oh, so why are you looking here? He said that because there is a light here. Where did you lose your key? Oh, there, down there. But there is darkness there. So I thought I will look here. He said, if you haven't lost your key here, you cannot find here. Even we will look for it for several hours. if there is a darkness, let us take the light, flashlight or something, and find there. So in our life also, whatever situations are there, it's because sometimes we are not looking for something on a right place, in a right time, in a right way. Meditation helps us to open these third divine eyes. When we open third divine eye, then we see things with third dimension. That normally we are used to things only for two eyes and whatever these two eyes are teaching us. All this culture, all the religion, all the faith leaders, all the preceptors have guided us certain natural laws of life. But whatever reason, because we are looking everything, creating perception and perspecting through this, what we see through our sense organs. Either we see through these two eyes, or listen these two ears, or breathe in through these two nostrils, or speak using two lips. We are so much sensual connection. When you do things connected with your sense organs too much, then you become extroverted. And every time you look something, you lose some percentage of your divine energy. That's why in some of the meditation, they said that close your eyes, because they are trying to help you that don't get influenced by what you see through these two eyes. Now, either I close my eyes or I keep my eyes open. It's not making big difference. I have to think, I have to connect to my thoughts. If my eyes are closed, but my thoughts are running here and there, it doesn't help. So meditation says, as a beginner, it's the beginning time of the practice. First, you have to bring yourself back to yourself. First, bring yourself back to yourself. We have distanced ourselves from ourselves. So in Raja Yoga meditation, we first connect to ourselves. What we realized or understood, or in this technique we are understanding or practicing, that once I connect to myself, then it will be so easy to connect to God. But if I am not connect to myself properly, then I will not be able to connect to God. And if I am not able to connect to myself and not connect to God, I will not receive enough divine power to live my day-to-day life. So one of the aspects of meditation is nurturing your soul. Like we are so careful to nurture our physical aspect of the life. We are making sure in the morning we take shower, and immediately we can have cup of tea, cup of coffee, piece of bread, piece of toast, piece of pastry, something like that. We are so careful. Our house should be air conditioned. Our house should have heating system. Our comfortable bed should be there. Shower should be there. We have all the things comfortable we want. And we need that. Of course we need that. But we are so much only physical aspect. How about comfortable thoughts, comfortable feelings, comfortable attitude? When I think of anything which is not positive, immediately my inner voice, my inner soul says, I am not comfortable with that. What is the name of the stress? What is the frustration? I am not comfortable. Where am I not comfortable? Maybe I am frustrated at that time I sitting in my very comfortable chair, comfortable table, comfortable office, where all the things are working physically, totally, materially, okay. Why am I frustrated? Is something missing in my soul? So we are trying to understand the truth is, I am not only physical being. I am physical and divine being. I am a team. I am a combination. I am a combined. That's why when somebody leaves body, somebody dies. In every culture, in every faith, what do we pray? Maybe language is different or a way of it a different prayer, but one meaning is same. May God give peace to departed soul. So who departed and from where it departed? I, the soul, departed from the body. So soul lives in the body. So the first aspect of the meditation is you connect to your divine soul. You are not only body. You are a beautiful, shining, wonderful, star-like entity. In Indian ancient scripture, it says that chamakta hai ajab sitara prakriti ke beech mein. It says that a unique star is sparkling in the middle of your forehead. And science also says that in the middle of the pituitary gland and hypothalamus and nervous system in the brain, there is a light is there. There is a living energy is there, which functions and performs everything through the body. So like a soul is a driver, body is a car. When driver is powerful, driver is strong, driver is knowledgeable, he can even drive car, which is maybe not totally in a mechanical level or a technical level sound, but he's very smart driver. He will make it happen. Or one very good artist, he will create beautiful design on any kind of paper with any kind of color, and it could be so impressive. So soul is the one who is functioning, who is performing. So very first aspect in meditation in our practice is you connect to your divine self. We include breathing exercise. We include acupressure exercise because right now my mind is so many places. So first step is I have to slowly, very gently, very softly, very lovingly come to the place of, like we said, centering your mind or making yourself stable or grounded to distress yourself. So first we said that you close and open your fist, you take deep breaths, hold your breath, and then release your breath. Focus on breath for some moments. Then slowly, gently come to the middle of your forehead, where you, the soul, divine star, an eternal being, an immortal being, is residing. And that eternal being, that immortal being has 7 qualities, which is our innate qualities. And that's why we are always looking for to receive it. Scientifically, it is proved that somebody can get angry maximum 2 to 3 hours. Cannot be more than that. Because that's an acquired power, acquired quality. But somebody can be in silence for 10 days. And more that silence increase, inner power increase. Inner beauty awakens. Inner joyful feelings awaken. In Sanskrit, it is said that your soul is Sat Chit Ananda Swarupam. Means you are an embodiment of truth. You are an embodiment of conscious energy. You are an embodiment of bliss. So more I connect to myself and sit in silence, take deep breath and relax, and slowly you connect to your qualities of your soul. I am peaceful being. take deep breath and said, I breathe in peace. I'm a loveful being. Take deep breath. I breathe in love. I am blissful being. Breathe in bliss. So you do breathing and you connect to your thoughts, which is divine affirmation. And as you think, so shall you become. If you think I am peace, you will manifest that peace. And you will share that peace. You will radiate that peace. You reflect that peace, love, bliss, power, everything. But if you do that way, and another thing, when you close and open your fist, they said that when your tip of the fingers are pressuring your bottom part of your hand, what happens, it connects to your brain nervous system. When you are closing and opening your fist, it is like you are massaging your brain nervous system and neurons. So when you breathe in and said, I am peace, you close and open your fist and said, I am peace, you are giving lots of peaceful feeling to your whole body system. It affects your chemicals and hormones, like sister mentioned. It helps our blood pressure. It helps our heart rate and all aspects of our physical health also. But along with that, it helps our mental and emotional aspect also. And then we connect to God as a God's beloved child. Because we all know in all religion, it says you are God's child. Why don't I feel I'm God's child? And if I am God's child, I should have God's DNA. We say in every religion, every faith we pray, God is all compassionate. Unconditional compassion He's showering. Unconditional mercy He's showering. Unconditional love He's showering. Why I am not opening and unblocking my inner self and receive that unconditional love, compassion, and mercy? Why don't I share that? If I am God's child, I should do that. First, I should feel it, and then I should share it.
Sister, I think we're going to need to have our discussion now, and
Sure, okay.
I have no idea how to interrupt the stream of light that is.
Oh, sorry. I'm
right
sorry.
now, but I think,
okay. So just last one word, that just connect to yourself, that is opening to yourself, and then connect to God, Supreme Light. That is part of the meditation. Om Shanti. And please accept my apology for continuing little longer.
Thank you so much, sister. So now is the time, if panelists would like to make more comments or ask other panelists comments, we have maybe 20 minutes where we can do that, and then we'll take questions from the audience if people would like to put them in the chat from in the audience. I will read some of them as we have time to do so. So I saw, Martina, you had your hand up.
Peter,
Sorry. Yeah, I'll take it. I did have one question, and it's for the panelists, for all of us, is how can you, what do you think as far as sharing your passion for meditation more widely, more broadly? I know we all have our own personal ways that we meditate, and meditation is very personal, but how can we share that more widely? Not just, in our faith, but just, to anyone that may be suffering or need. What are your ideas as far as sharing that knowledge from meditation?
Anyone?
Martina, thank you. In our Buddhist practice, it's like half of it is for us and half of it is to share with others. And I think, this has been such a great dialogue or presentation so far. When you find something really valuable, perhaps the most valuable thing in life, which is an idea about how to be the most beautiful human being you can be, we want to share that, right? So in Buddhism, we call it shakabuku, which means to break open. And we're taught to befriend people, right? Be their friend first, and then introduce them to the idea of cause and effect and how to raise your life condition to bring out your innate wisdom, so that the thoughts and the words and their actions that we're taking move us, on the path that we choose. And everyone on this call are people who want the best, right? And so I've been taking notes here, and the word appreciation keeps popping up, and connection. And I think if it's beholden upon each one of us to befriend people that we meet in our lives and help them, give them the tools that we have to solve the problems of their lives, to have a joyful and regretful life.
Thank you, Peter. Anyone else on that question of how can we share the benefits of our meditation with others?
I think to a great extent it's natural. I have a deep belief that any self-care, anything we do for ourselves as a person, benefits other people. It makes us more alert, more present, more alive. We can move from being people who react to everything to responding. Sometimes I do my best meditation after I do something wrong. I say something and said, now, why did I say that? My mother once said to me when I was a little boy, well, maybe you should think before you say something. Wow. Maybe I should think it through first, then say it. I remember one time I said something and my mother said, is that really what you want to say? I said, well, no. Instead of getting angry, upset, or mad, she invited me to this reflection. So I've sort of noticed that when you do self-care, sometimes we live in a society where we think if we do self-care is selfish at the expense of the others, whereas sometimes the self-care is for the sake of the other.
Thank you, Father Tom. I think that one of the things that we maybe don't appreciate enough is that when people see other people who are kind or patient or in a centered place and not stressed, that's a very powerful thing in the world. It's unusual. It's strange. People are used to having other people cut them off, not listen to them, try to get as much as they can and devil take the hindmost. That's the world that most people live in. So if you're patient with someone and as Peter was saying, befriend them, show a real interest in the other person, not a fake interest, but like, I'd like to get you to join my group, but a real interest in that person is shocking. People are shocked that you really care about them. And it's so powerful that a certain number of people will want to know, how do you do that? How are you so centered? Why aren't you stressed out? Why aren't you angry because somebody else did something the way I'm angry that they did it? And that's the first seed, I would say, Martina, that I've seen, is when, if you can be that best person you can be, the whole world wants to know how to do that, and they'll ask. And so that ties in with what Father Tom was saying just now, because you can call it self-care, but if you can bring that centeredness and caring and love that Sister Hansa was talking about into your moment-to-moment life with other people, they're going to ask you. and they're going to want to hang out with you. They may not know what it is, but they want to know. And some will ask, and some will. For other people, it's really not their path right now. They're not ready for it, but they'll still like it. That's been my experience. Anybody else?
David, I would say that in my practice of Buddhism, we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo over and over and over. And we have an altar with a scroll and candles and incense. It's a ceremony. And while we're doing that, it's a form of meditation, but it's an active meditation because we're making sound. And earlier Thomas was talking about the beauty of music and how it brings people together. And in the world of cause and effect, quietly meditating inward is a beautiful thing and has a profound effect in our lives. As soon as we vocalize our prayer, it becomes more real, right? It's creating something in the physical world. And when you write that down and you keep goals and you focus on the goals that you want, which, everyone on this call wants the best, right? We want to be the best friends to the people that we love that we can, and to strangers, right? So our prayer, we talk about when we chant long enough in the morning and in the evening, twice a day, it raises our life condition. We begin to, our optimism permeates our lives, and it's an energy that people can see and they're attracted to it, right? So each of us are talking about the same kind of thing in a different way, and I see the value in a quiet meditation to connect with yourself, and I'm not yet convinced that can't happen while I'm chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, because it's about it's about the causes we're making, which is our thoughts and our feelings and our intention, right? What is our intention? And because those are the causes that we're making that are going to come back to us. And when our life condition is high, I got to tell you, there's a rhythm to the universe, and the lights are green, and people answer the phone when I call them, and things just go smoothly, right? And we call that being in rhythm with the universe. And we do that by chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is a 2,800-year-old Buddhist teaching. And I could tell you what that means, but it's not so important, really. It's about our intention and making the most powerful cause that we can make.
So intention's very important, and other people have brought up prayer. And then our word of the evening is meditation. And then we've also talked about befriending, which is kind of an action. It's what we do. It's how we intend and act in the world. So we've had a lot of facets to meditation. Of course, Sister Hansa was enumerating the facets. I think that it's interesting, and I think illuminating to think what is meditation? Is it the same as prayer? And there's someone in our audience who asked the question, do you pray when you're meditating, or keep still and stay open to releasing and receiving? And I'll just add to that question and then open it up to the panel. Do we have to choose?
That's such a great question. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah. It's something that came up while I was preparing for this evening. And it's appearing to me as I hear the other panelists speak that both are important.
Anyone else?
I would think that all meditation is prayer, but all prayer is not meditation. In my practice, what constitutes prayer to a great extent, if I use my oratio, meditatio, contemplatio, prayer is spoken, prayer is sung, prayer is saying something. there is sometimes people will come and say, I'm having trouble with my prayer, I can't say them. Well, when you can no longer say them, it may be because you moved to meditation. Once in New York City, I was walking along the river and I saw an elderly couple holding hands. They weren't saying anything. After a lifetime of talking and dealing with the issues of the day, they were gently holding one another's hands, looking at the river. And I think that's a beautiful vignette of what it is to meditate. Even when we talk about there's an object in front of us that we may gaze upon, it really may not so much be an object as a window, as an opportunity, as an energy that touches our mind, heart, and soul. Sometimes you have to learn when to stop talking, when to stop saying something, and simply be. Enter into the moment with heart wide open. All meditation is prayer, but all prayer is not necessarily meditation.
In my experience too, that we do lots of things with our minds. We think things, we figure things out, we avoid danger with our minds and so on. And a wise person once said that we swim through an ocean of our own thoughts. But I think that meditation is reaching the shore, getting out of that ocean of our thoughts, being in the ocean of the heart, get out of the ocean of our thoughts. Meditation happens when we're using that organ, that sensation, the organ that senses something higher with our hearts, instead of lots of thoughts, and the thought, which kind of meditation am I doing? Is this the right kind of meditation? Oh, I forgot to say this verse, or I didn't get up at the right time. Those are all thoughts. But going to the core experience of, as several of our panelists said, connecting with what has been gifted to us, our life and our fellow creatures and fellow creations, that's not done with our minds. That our minds actually interfere with that in my experience. And I'm not speaking as a teacher of meditation. I'm just saying in my own experience, my mind will take me on Mr. Toadie's wild ride, but it will not get me to the place where I am become one with my creator and understand my life. Well, that's enough for me. Anyone else?
Actually, anything when you connect to yourself and connect to God, if it is not with any kind of worldly expectations, what we understand is sometime in the prayer, we are asking from God, please do this, please do this. I wish this will happen. I wish this will happen. Then it will become very limited. But in meditation, we just sit and enjoy being with God, enjoy being with our own self. Like Father Tom mentioned very beautifully that this couple is walking near the river, holding the hand. They don't need anything because they have deep acceptance of each other and appreciation of each other. The same way, I, the soul, become coupled with God. And I feel that God is giving me more than I need. God is giving me more than I deserve. God is giving me more than I expect. And whatever I have, if I just I see myself as God's sees me, that helps a lot. And that is meditation. That I see myself, like I heard somewhere that God created human being as his own image. Right? So he created us as his beautiful, he is the most beautiful identity on this, like a creator, right? So if I accept it and appreciate it and be happy, that is what meditation is. So meditation is you dig out this realization, this wisdom. Sometimes certain things doesn't happen the way we want. We have to remember the word of wisdom. Right things happen on a right time. If something is not happening, means maybe it is not a right time. Don't complain to God. Don't feel uncomfortable. Just said right things happen on right time. God said that, right? So many saints are saying that. Like again and again, Brother Peter is mentioning about cause and effect. So if something is not happening to me, I don't need to complain to God or I don't need to feel bad, but I have to say, what can I change? Okay? Like they said, goes around, comes around. Okay? So if I want to love in my life, goes around, comes around. So let me give love.
Yes.
Then I will receive love. Give respect, I will receive respect. I cannot keep feeling, oh, I'm not getting respect enough. No, you give respect, you remain in self-respect, you experience God is giving you respect. And then your life will be, that's the meditation.
Thank you.
And one small thing I like to add what our sister Mitina asked that about how we are spreading it. So one metaphor I can remember, like I become candle. So light will reach to everywhere. I become light of peace, light of love, light of compassion. And another small little story I was remembering that one teacher gave one boy tear of few pieces of the world map and asked him to fix it. And he brought it fixed. So I said, did you know which corner of the country where and etc.? He said, I didn't know it. How did you fix it? He flipped the paper and there was a human being, picture of human. He said, I didn't know that, but I knew the human, where the legs will go, where the eyes will go, where the hands will go. I fixed that, and in the back, the world was fixed. So like Father Tom said, self-care. Take care of yourself, your feelings, your attitude, like Brother Peter also mentioned. So then automatically, when I change, the world will change. Om Shanti.
This reminds me of, if I may, Martina spoke about meditating together.
Yes.
And I think that's a very, very beautiful image. I was wondering if you could say, Martina, a few more things about that, what it is to meditate together and the power, the energy.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Oh, yeah, thank you for opening that up. And also when you mentioned the couple at the river, I mean, that's very powerful. And I know that because I meditate with my husband, and it's all about energy. And we're meditating together. We feel that energy bouncing between us. It's not anything physical. It's just all just quiet. Don't talk. We're actually separate but together. If you can understand that, it's like I'm in my own space and he's in his, but we know that we're in the same room, and we feel the energy, and one of the things that I also practice is the Reiki and crystals. We really have a lot of energy around us, and just being able to partake in that together is really good. So, couples, it is a separate personal thing when you're meditating, but it also can be done together as a couple as well. Great exercise, and just feeling it's all about the energy, as I mentioned before. And I know we haven't talked about energy yet, but it's important, and that's one of the things, David, that helps when you're in a lot of, your mind is going crazy and you're thinking about dinner and all kinds of stuff. bringing that back, feeding off that inner energy, that inner self, that really helps out a lot.
It's a very powerful practice and a very powerful imagery. Thank you for that. I can imagine that it transcends even times of conflict and upset, to be there with each other and not allow the upsets of life to interfere with the flow of love. That's what I was hearing when you were speaking. So thank you so much for that.
That's great. Imagine yourself in a room with 200 or 300 other people chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, men and women and children. So there is that certain combined intention of being the best we can be, right? And again, I keep thinking about cause and effect. And I got to say though that when we talk about connection, there's two things. There's the connection with our inner self, our own soul, and our own potential, and who we could be, and that entity that we have and we've lived with, that's constantly evolving, right? Because we say so. There's that, but the other is connection to another person. And if I could point to one thing in our culture that is in serious need of help, it would be that connection. And it's just been my observation that humans thrive in villages and in small communities, and we wither in our aloneness. And all the problems that I see around me every day in our culture is because of people that don't feel valued, right? They don't feel connected to the human family, and it's not their fault. It's the fault of the adults that were charged with their care that failed them to make them feel like they're valued, that you belong to the human family. You're one of us. We share. We can delay gratification. We have empathy and compassion, and we're courageous. That's how we should be raising our little children. And in my experience, it takes a village, and in that we are failing. Too many children are being raised that don't feel valued, and their lifestyles are going to be in our faces. So all of this discussion has been so wonderful, because everyone on this call is committed to growing, right? In Buddhism, we call it maintain a seeking spirit throughout your life, right? Don't ever get to a point where you think you know everything. And I'm a member of Rotary International, and there's 34,000 Rotary clubs in the world, and our motto is service above self. Right. So it's just so great to be with you all, and to hear all the ways that we have so much in common, right? And that's what I keep reminding people. There's this radical right and radical left, and the politics and all this things that seem to be set on separating us, when in fact most people are kind-hearted and would help a stranger in need, right? So I just want to put that out there to everyone.
Thank you so much. I agree with Sister Matina also, that we also believe in group meditation and collective meditation. And one thing, like our headquarters, Mount Abu, sometimes we are 25,000 people meditating together for peace in the world. And every month, third Sunday of the month in entire world, our organizations is like a world peace meditation, that at one time, 1 million people meditating together. It's really collective energy is so important. Sometimes jokingly they said it's a tsunami of peace and tsunami of love when we do something collective.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes.
Well, I think that we've heard some very, very beautiful words about both individual meditation, out loud meditation, group meditation, and intention. And I wonder if perhaps we could say more. We have about 10 minutes, and I wonder if people could say about what meditation intention that they have. Sister Hans has kind of touched on it a little bit, but what is our intention when we meditate?
The dictionary meditation, a technique used to focus on one thing, like our breath, with a goal of reducing stress, anxiety, depression, and pain, and to enhance peace, our perception or our attitude, our ability for self-reflection, and overall well-being. So anybody that participates in any form of meditation wants that as an outcome, right?
I did want to say one thing is sometimes you hear meditation is like a practice. And the word practice is, setting out and intending to kind of perfect. And perfection in meditation to me is being able to meditate and connect with the universe without any outside distractions. So it's taken me years, literally years, to be able to sit there and not let my mind wander. One of the things that helped me with that is my prayers, is because you want to be dedicated. You want to be able to express yourself to your God and without the distraction, and being able to, I'm praying, and our prayers in my religion is a physical thing in addition to spiritual. So I'm physically doing an act. At the same time, I'm concentrating and I'm intending to concentrate on my prayer at that time, concentrate on the connection, and really feel a sense of satisfaction when I'm finished my prayer. And as I mentioned, it's taken years for me to master that, but I feel really good about it. I know anybody can do it if you're dedicated and and that is your intention, is just to have that connection and be able to kind of dispel a lot of the distractions that go on in your mind, not just physical, but it's up here.
I always associate, not always, but I like to associate meditation with presence. What it is to be present to another person. There's a prayer in the tradition that reads like this: "In you, O God, we live and move and have our very being." That the relationship to God is like a fish in water. The fish doesn't run around all day objectifying water. It lives in the water. It lives because of the water and expresses itself within the water. And my understanding is the closer meditation doesn't make you close to God. It recognizes the closeness of God. Fundamentally, this is all a gift of God. It's a gift of the universe. It's the gift we give one to another. The more sometimes I can practice meditation as a formal technique so that I can awaken in myself the ability to live reflectively in all the affairs of life. So the love of God, the love of self, the love of another turn out to be the same thing. If I'm not interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent and radically open, then my outreach to another person becomes work rather than the expression of my heart. So I breathe inward so I can sing the song.
Beautiful, very beautiful. You're mentioning the fish in the water reminded me of a wisdom story in which a fish is swimming around saying, I have to meditate. I have to understand God. I have to get closer to God. I don't know, God, I don't know what this water is. I have to understand water. And then a wave washes it up on the beach. And all of a sudden it's flipping on the beach and its gills are burning. And it's feeling as though it's going to die. and then another wave comes and washes it back in the water. And all of a sudden, it understands what water is because it knew what was like to not have water. And we're a little bit like that running around the world. I have to understand God. I have to understand, how the world works. I have to understand the Tao. I have to understand meditation. And all the time, it's all happening already. And we're walking around in the daytime with our eyes shut, saying it's dark. If we just open the eyes, then we do see that light. If we,
It's a great image. That's a great image.
yeah. So, meditation is kind of a mystery to me. I don't think you can just, you can talk about it, but you have to try it. Try to, whether you want to do it in a formal way or you want to just go down to a shore of water and sit with the birds and the fish and try to understand how you connect to them. How do you fit in?
David, thank you. I think it was Martina that said, we're talking about practice, right? Like yoga. Buddhism is a practice. It's a daily, twice a day, sometimes 5 times a day in the case of Islam. So going down to the river once in your lifetime may be of some value, but creating a place in your house, a quiet place, and creating ceremony, right? Lighting some candles and some incense and not putting your phone away and by your intention, creating a quiet place for reflection, to get in touch with your humanity and feel your breath and really occupy your body and be in the moment and remind yourself, I am as free and powerful as any human being has ever been, and who do I want to be today? So we've been talking about meditation as a way of clearing our mind to connect with ourselves. Meditation is a prayer, God, I really need to pass this test tomorrow. And, if you help me with this, life will be better for everyone and me. And then another kind of prayer, which is, today I'm going to study like I've never studied before. Right? Setting intention with the knowledge that, I love that. I think Sister Hansa said that God made us in his own image. And what is more creative than God? And I've heard it said that we're not afraid of failure, we're afraid of our greatness. Right? What if we're only limited by our own imagination, which would be true because in the world of cause and effect, attitude is everything. So everything we're doing on this call, all forms of meditation is to affect our attitude, right? Which changes the way we think. And, it's both a combination of our intellect, our mental capacity as a brain, and also our emotions, the way we feel, to be able to integrate all of that and to really own it and for the goodness of humanity, right? To create positive change. And that's done one person at a time. And Tom, I got to say that the notes I took on you just reminded me of John Lennon. So much of what he talked about and the way he lived his later years of his life. God is love, and the only thing that gets in the way of love is fear. And fear is a personal ego thing, and why, just the life of Christ, right? Forgiveness and compassion. Right? To look for the best in everyone we meet, right? That's what Buddhism teaches. Look for the best in everyone we meet. And I got to tell you that with that little attitude shift, instead of looking for reasons to complain and to judge and all that stuff, when I'm looking for the best, we tend to find that for which we're looking. That's why attitude is everything is so important. We tend to find that for which we're looking. And each of us has our own little ego and our likes and our dislikes, and our attitude is the filter through which all our thoughts happen. And that's why these calls are so great, because we're intentionally getting into each other's thoughts and expanding ourselves, right? Being more powerful, more prepared for tomorrow. And I'm just so grateful for this group and this opportunity to be with you all.
Well, thank you to each of our panelists and to everyone who joined us in the audience. We are at the end of our time for this panel. And it's been a very rich sharing. It's been a powerful sharing. I would say we really did have a lot of energy going, and that energy was for the good of each of us and for everyone on earth, all of the creations and all of the people. So it's time to say good night, but it's not time to say goodbye. Hopefully we'll see each other again, join in this sort of sharing generously. And I wonder if Father Tom, would you help us with the closing prayer?
Sure. Gracious one of 1,000 names, yet no one name can contain or express. We thank you for the divine spirit moving deep within us. And we pray that because of our encounter one with another, that we might indeed be better people. For when is it not true that I am a better person because I met you? May we never forget to praise you, not as an object of our devotion, but the source of our very life. Like every river flows, like every bird flies, may we release all the love that is within us for the sake of one another and all the world. Be at peace, everyone. Love you.
Amen.
Well done.
Great, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing a wonderful insight. And thank you, Brother David, to share, moderate things in excellent way. So thank you, all of you. And thank you, those who joined. Thank you. Om Shanti. Good night. Angels in your dream.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.